Welcome to Happy, Healthy, Whole, and Rich, where faith meets action and transformation is non negotiable. I'm Tina Brinkley Potts, and I believe now is the time to step boldly into your power, walk in divine wisdom, and claim the life you were meant to live. Each episode, I'll bring you real, unfiltered truth because this world needs leaders who refuse to shrink. Let's get it. Welcome back to Happy, Healthy, Whole, and Rich. I'm Tina Brinkley Potts. I know who I play for. This is it, episode 7, the final episode of our Standing in Your Power series. And I want to start today by saying something I mean with everything in me. I am proud of you for being here, all 7 episodes, because this series asks something of you. It asks you to look honestly at where you've been handing your power away, at the stories you've been building on top of data, at the loops you've been mistaking for failure, at the visions you've been holding at arm's length because the hard thing in front of you felt like a sign to stop. Today, I want to close this series with the most important truth I know. You were always this. The power you've been building toward, the version of yourself you've been reaching for, it was never somewhere ahead of you waiting to be earned. It was always already in you, waiting to be remembered. Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Before you were born. Not after you figured it out. Not after you healed enough, and not after you've proved yourself in enough rooms or survived enough hard lessons or finally stopped making the mistakes you've been making. Before any of that, before all of that, you were known. You were set apart. You were already this, which means everything you have walked through in this life, every yard you've stood in, every office you've showed up to, every diagnosis you've faced, every loop you've come back from, none of it was creating you. It was all revealing you. The power was never the destination. The power was always the origin. And standing in it is not an achievement. It's a remembrance. I want to take you back through the series one more time. Not to repeat what we've covered, but to show you something you might have missed. We started with the woman in my coaching practice who had built her entire identity around everything that had been done to her. And I told her, as long as someone else is responsible for where you are, you do not have to be responsible for where you're going. That wasn't a criticism. That was an invitation back to herself. We talked about the DSP method, data, story, projection. And I told you about the 5 minutes I spent spinning out over a WhatsApp lockout before I caught myself and asked, what do I actually know right now? That tool didn't come from a book. It came from years of learning to locate the floor beneath the story. We stood in a yard at 16. We held the keys. We looked at something that was coming at us and we said, this isn't happening today. Not from anger, from a settled knowing that had no name yet. We walked through Wyoming concrete, through slurs and wake jokes and everything designed to pull us out of our excellence. And we stayed anyway, because none of these things were ever qualified to have dominion over us. Then we went to Atlanta in house glasses and sweatpants and sat in a world built entirely on image. And we were the most grounded person in the room, not because we were performing power, but because we had it. We talked about the loops, about how the old pattern comes back. It's not failure. It is the resistance that builds the muscle, about doubling down on the picture on the wall every single time. And then we went to the hardest season, the diagnosis, the fear of leaving children behind, The post-workout quiet that became the feeling practice that became the path through. Now here's what I want you to see. None of those moments created who I am. They revealed who I already was. The 16-year-old in the yard was already this. The woman at Wyoming Concrete was already this. The woman in Atlanta was already this. The woman facing 2 diagnoses and finding her way back through feeling was already this. And so are you. Whatever you have walked through, whatever is in front of you right now, whatever feels hard enough that someone has told you it must not be your time yet because if it were meant for you, it would be easier. You are already this before any of it. And you will still be this on the other side. I want to address something directly today because it matters. There is a teaching that circulates in spiritual and personal development spaces that I want to push back on with love and with firmness. That teaching says, if it's hard, it must not be for you. That God only creates ease. That struggle means misalignment. That if you were really on the right path, it wouldn't feel this difficult. That teaching has caused people to quit right before the breakthrough, to walk away from the very thing they were built for because someone convinced them that the resistance was a sign to stop rather than an invitation to go deeper. Paul wrote from a prison cell. He wrote about contentment, about peace that surpasses understanding, about being able to do all things from a prison cell. The ease was not the absence of the prison. The ease was a feeling that he had access to inside it. Jesus said in John 16:33, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Not in this world you will have trouble unless you're on the right path and fully aligned and spiritually mature enough. You will have trouble, full stop. And take heart anyway. Hard does not mean wrong. Hard means you are doing something real enough to require everything you have. Ease is a feeling. I want you to write that down. Say it out loud. Let it rearrange something. Ease is not a circumstance. It is not the absence of difficulty. It is not what happens when everything finally goes your way and the path clears and the resistance lifts. Ease is a frequency you can access in the middle of the hard thing. It is the post-workout quiet. It's the moment in the yard when you stop running and stand firm and something settles. It is Paul in the prison writing about peace that surpasses understanding. Ernest Holmes taught that the kingdom of heaven, what he called the realm of infinite possibility, is always available. Not after the hard thing resolves. Now, inside it, accessible through feeling. Neville Goddard said, change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. Your conception of yourself is this: I can do hard things. Not, I will be able to do hard things one day when I've healed enough and grown enough and figured out enough. I can do hard things right now, as I am, in the middle of whatever this is. That conception, held with feeling, returned to consistently, doubled down on every time the loop tries to convince you otherwise, changes everything. Not because the hard thing disappears, because you stop being someone who is defined by whether things are hard. James Allen wrote, the man who does not shrink from self-crucifixion can never fail to accomplish the object upon which his heart is set. The hard thing is not the enemy of your vision. It is the crucible of it. It is where the vision gets proven real, where the power that was always in you gets revealed to you. You were always this. The hard thing just showed you what was already there. We're going to close this series the same way we closed every episode, by going inward. But today I want these questions to feel less like an assignment and more like a homecoming. First, what has this series revealed to you about yourself? Not what you learned, what got revealed. Because learning implies it was new. I want you to know what you recognized, what felt like remembering rather than discovering. That recognition is the thing that was always true. Second, where have you been spiritually bypassing your own hard thing? Where have you been telling yourself or letting someone else tell you that the difficulty means it's not for you? That if you were really aligned, it would feel easier. Name it, and then tell yourself the truth. Hard does not mean wrong. Hard means real. Third, what is the hard thing in front of you right now that you are ready to walk through? Not around, not away from, through. The only way to is through. And you have everything you need. You have always had everything you need. Fourth, what does ease feel like for you? Not what does ease look like. What does it feel like in your body, in your breath, in the quality of your thinking? How do you know when you've accessed it, even in the middle of a hard season? Define it for yourself so you can find your way back to it. The feeling is your most powerful navigation tool. And finally, write yourself a declaration, not a goal, not a vision board caption, a declaration. Something true about who you are that you are committing to remember the next time something hard comes and tries to tell you a different story. Let it start with these words if you need them. I can do hard things. And let it go wherever it needs to go from there. Make it yours. Make it true. And put it somewhere you see it. That is your picture on the wall. We've covered a lot of ground in this series. We learned to separate data from story from projection. We stood firm when things tried to move us. We declared that no person, place, nor thing has dominion over us. We recognize the loops for what they are. We return to the picture on the wall. We learn to feel our way forward even when we couldn't see the path clear. And today, we close with the truth that makes it all possible. You were always this. Not because your life has been easy. Not because you haven't struggled or doubted or gotten it wrong. But because the power that has gotten you through every single hard thing you have ever faced was already in you before the hard thing arrived. And I want to say one more thing directly before we close. If someone has told you in faith spaces, in personal development spaces, in your own head, that the hard thing in front of you means it's not your time, that God only gives ease, that if you were really on the right path, it would feel lighter, I want you to hear me clearly. Ease is a feeling, not a circumstance. You can feel ease in the middle of a hard thing. You can feel peace in the middle of the pressure. You can feel your way to the vision even when the path is not clear. And the hard thing you are walking through right now is not evidence that you are off course. It is evidence that you are doing something real enough to require everything you have. You can do hard things. Say it again. I can do hard things. One more time like you mean it. I can do hard things. That has always been true. And it will always be true. And no circumstance, no person, no diagnosis, no locked account, no room that wasn't expecting you, none of it changes that. You were always this. Now go live like it. I know who I play for. Thank you for being in this series with me. And share it with somebody. Because I know that there are a lot of people out in this world who are going through something hard, and people are making it a shameful event. Share this with them so that they can do hard things. Until next time, be happy, be healthy, be whole, and most importantly, be rich in love, rich in peace, and rich in purpose. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, live it, and let's grow together. Head over to happyhealthywholerich.com for more powerful teachings and join the movement. Remember, your breakthrough is waiting. You have to show up. Until the next time, stay happy, healthy, whole, and rich.